don't be afraid to be yourself. I know people tell you that all the time, just be yourself, be yourself. You need to explore who yourself is and then allow yourself to be yourself.
Sometimes I am a bit of an idiot when it comes to technology, and I forgot to enable echo cancellation on this particular episode. So, what you will find is some of the cuts I had to make and some of the audio that I had to tune out because there was simply too much echo in our conversation. So, the cuts may seem a little awkward at first, but I think the meat of the conversation is still right there for you to enjoy. Hello, and a warm welcome back to In Search of 42. My name is, of course, Felix Becker, and I am your very own success coach on this journey we call life. Now, as part of my quest, I'm having these incredible conversations with some amazing people to try to bring the wisdoms to you. And this week is no different. Claudia Wyatt, honestly, is a firehouse. She has so much more than the confidence, cognitive behavior, and certified life purpose coach that she claims to be. That's just her title, that's a label. She is so much more beyond that, and you will hear all about her story and what she does and how she can help you in this conversation. As before, if you like this stuff, please like, share, rate and review, subscribe, do all those things, because at the end of the day, that little bit of work on your end helps us reach more people, and the more people we can reach, the more people we can help. People just like you or me who are looking for the answers to life, the universe, and everything, who are not satisfied by knowing the answer is 42. Besides, we don't get to hear the question until the second book. So keep reading, keep learning, keep listening in. Here's my conversation with Claudia Wyatt. All right, Claudia, so awesome to connect with you again. Thanks for doing this. Hey, I'm very excited. So let's get right into it. Who are you?
Isn't that everyone's favorite question? I'm me. I'm me. Don't you know who I am? So I am a certified confidence, cognitive behavior, and life purpose coach, speaker, and writer. I have been in leadership for my entire life, but performing with high performing teams for the last 25 years. So really working with people to find their belief in themselves and take that and harness that and nourish that and help them find their dreams and live their dreams and be the person they want to be and have the life they want to live. That's who I am.
That is phenomenal. And I think everybody needs a Claudia in our corner. But you didn't start out this way. How did you end up doing this?
It was interesting because I've always been in a leadership role and a coaching role in everything I've ever done. I did a lot of theater and music, growing up, and dance, a lot of performing. So that's kind of where the speaker part came from. But I really loved working with people. And I found throughout my life with friends, with family, with colleagues, I was always the go-to fixer. When there was a problem, someone came to me and they're like, "What do you think?" I actually had a team member once come in and say, "Can I talk to you for a second, Claudia?" And I said, "Sure, what's up?" She said, "I need you to tell me if I'm being petty." And I was like, "Okay." And she's like, "Because I know you're going to shoot me straight and let me know." And she told me her story. She was having a problem with the team member. And I said, "Yeah, you're being petty. Like, let that go." I'm like, if you want to move on with the actual working together, then you're going to have to come to an agreement. You're not going to like everything about everybody, and everyone's not going to do everything the same way of you. That's something I had to learn the hard way for all my life, basically. But once you find that common ground, you can build together, and that's important. So yeah,
That's awesome.
I just live for helping people, and once that sort of clicked in my brain that was what I was supposed to do, I started building on it, and I started working with teams and helping them work together, and learning a lot, being challenged a lot, because I had to learn how people think and how people do things and how people feel, because we're all a little bit different. We all have something inside us that makes us magic, and finding that special thing and bringing it out in someone is a gift. And I love being able to do that. But I went through a hard time on my own, in my own life, with my own personal divorce. My marriage was falling apart, and it really took a toll on me because I lost myself, because I was giving so much to make the other person happy that I forgot who I was. And I took that fixer to a whole nother level, and in that process misplaced myself. And coming out of that was one of the hardest things that I've ever done. And I did it, and it was hard, but finding those keys that were like, hey, you're forgetting who you are. This is not you. What are you doing? And going, I'm meant for more than this. And that's when I decided, you know what? I want to help people with this because I went through it all by myself and it can be done, but it's difficult. And when you have someone to guide you through those transitions and those pitfalls, it makes everything easier. You have someone who's supporting you, who's understanding you, who's cheering you on. And that's when I said, you know what? I want to do this for other people, like forever. And that's how I started my own company.
Yeah. Something you said there that really resonated with me. And that is, yeah, you could do it on your own. And I'm the kind of person that likes to do things on my own. But I know also from my own personal experience, once I discovered coaching for myself, my growth accelerated. It was like, I don't know, 10x, 100x, I don't even know. It's really hard to quantify that, but I could definitely see a much more exponential growth trajectory once I discovered coaching for myself. So I'm kind of curious about your own personal experience here. Did you use a coach for yourself during that transition, during that learning phase?
There was several different coaches. I've always loved learning, so I've had very fortunate people enter my life as mentors and as coaches, and I definitely believe that coaches need coaches too. Like, we're not great at everything, so there's things that we need to learn. And one of the biggest things for me is I was tired of making the same mistake again in relationships. So my mentor was like, you need to meet a love coach. And I was like, that's a great idea. And
Yeah.
in that, it dug into so many other things that I was like, wow, this is, really cool. I need to explore some more of this. So I took the coaching aspect of the areas that I knew I needed help with, and I used my coaches for that. I had a tech coach, the whole technology thing was like a mystery to me. So I needed somebody to help me there. But I loved the learning aspect of it. And there's something so cool about overcoming something that you thought you couldn't do. And you just have this explosion of gratitude and celebration for yourself and that pride. And then you move forward, which is wonderful. But yes, I am a big believer in coaches and having coaches. But then I got really intrigued by the work. And that's when I started doing things on my own and figuring out what I wanted to do and how I wanted to get there and what that all meant for me. And there was a lot of questions that I would ask myself on a regular basis. And it would be funny because in the beginning, you see your growth when you look back, right? In the beginning, I would be like, that's not me. I don't do that. And then I would walk away from it and be like, I don't need that question. That's for the birds. And then I would come back to it later. I would be doing something else and it would hit, like the answer would hit me. And I'd be like, oh, I do that. That is me. I need to work on that. Okay, let's figure out how to work on that. And, that would start, let's go on that train. And it's so fun, but there's a lot of stuff, it's hard. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be all fun and games. And you're going to be like, this is the best day of my life. I'm literally crying a river. That's not exactly how it works. But there's things that need to be explored. There's feelings and questions and emotions and why you do what you do and why you've done what you've done. Where that comes from is such a gift when you go, wow, that person said that to me when I was 5 years old and I never realized that stuck in my brain and I interpreted it this way and transformed my life around that. A lot of the stuff that we put in our brains isn't even ours. It's not our thoughts, it's not our beliefs, it's not our systems, but we adopt it and we go, yes, this is what my brain is telling me to do. And then later in life, when you start going through the work, you go, hold on, I don't actually believe that. But yet I've planned my whole life around it. Whoa, I got to let that go.
No, it's so true. And for any listeners here, that you mentioned a love coach. So I had a love coach on the show very early on. My second guest, Chris Caltapiano, fantastic individual. She does love coaching. If you want to know about love coaching, what that means, and how it can help you in your relationships, be sure to check that episode out. Back from November or December 23. But the other thing you mentioned was uh, the stuff we put into our heads, or that were put into our heads back in the days, right? However old we were, 5, 6, 7, 15, 25 years old, doesn't matter. That sort of we sort of almost take as gospel, and that's just how things are. And I know that was my own experience with coaching for the longest time. I was raised on the idea that coaches were swindlers and snake oil salesmen. I mean, those words were used in my household, and who needs a coach anyways? And it wasn't until 2022 when I found coaching through a rather circuitous route. But I was listening to Brandon Turner when he was the host of the Bigger Pockets podcast as a self-made multimillionaire in the real estate world, and he was talking about his coach. And I was like, why would someone who has built his own multi-million-dollar real estate empire need a coach, right? And that then changed my mindset on it, and I started looking into coaching, and I was like, holy crap, this is nothing like what I was ever told. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was listening to a Hidden Brain podcast episode, which kind of brings what you were saying to into light as well. Our brains are these incredible machines, right? They're absolutely phenomenal with the output they can generate, and they're also incredibly flawed at the same time. Our emotions, for example, and this was the episode was talking about our emotions, was our brain takes all these inputs that we have, all these sensory, our eyes or ears or smell, taste, touch, whatever, all these sensory inputs about our environment, and tries to interpret them based on prior experience. And that's where emotions come from. And that's where the power of coaching then comes in and saying, hold on, your brain is taking all these basic information and then turning it into something that may not even be real. So I'm kind of curious what your experience has been with that thought pattern, with taking the flawed input, or maybe it's not the flawed input, it's the input that is not flawed, but it's the output that is flawed from our brain, and how that shows up in your coaching experience.
Well, that goes right into cognitive behavior. So rewiring those neural pathways. That's the thing, is we can break the pattern. We can actually make a too long rope and cut it in half and go, you know what, stop. This isn't the right thing. Let's figure out how to grow this in a different direction. And so you can actually rewire those pathways to create what you're looking for based on your goals, your dreams, your imagination, your wants, your needs, everything. You don't have to keep playing that same song over and over again in your head. But it's interesting because of the fact that we have people in our life that hold influence over us, whether they're, family or friends or people that we look up to. And like you said, we see these words as gospel sometimes. And we go back and go, hey, that's great. I can do that. That's what I should be doing. I should be doing that. And we forget our own core values in that process. And that has been kind of my radar or alignment system. Is now when I'm doing something, when I'm presented with something, I'll go, hold on, does this align with me? Does this align with my beliefs? Is this a belief that needs to be changed? You question the question. It's called putting your thoughts on trial. Like, you literally are going, hey, is that real? I go back to a moment in my life. I was never one of those people, kind of like with your family, that thought coaching was a thing, because my family didn't talk about anything. All problems were pushed under the rug. They were just moved on. But my parents were both older. And from the time I was a very, very young kid, my mom would always say to me, you got to learn how to take care of yourself because we might not be around. Because they were older, and I came, 17 years later than my brother and sister. So obviously, hello, surprise. My parents were in their 40s when they had me, and they were like, preparing me to be independent, which in most ways was amazing. The problem with that is, and I didn't realize this until I started going through the work, is it limited my relationships with people because I didn't trust that they were going to be there. And so I said, you know what? I've got to do it by myself. I didn't know how to ask for help. That wasn't a thing. I'm like, I'm going to figure it out on my own. I can count on me. I can trust me. I know me. And it made it so I put people in my life who I kept at a distance, that I never really trusted, that I never really let have all of me, all based on one thing that she said that she didn't mean the way that it came in my head. I interpreted that. She didn't say, you're going to be alone the rest of your life and you can't trust anyone. No, she said, you need to learn how to take care of yourself because we might not be there. So it's interesting to see how one person's words can change in your own mind. But it took a while for me to break through that. And breaking through that and understanding that and going, oh my gosh, this is how I interpreted that. This has caused a trajectory of problems in my life because this is what I thought was how it went. So then I needed to unravel those wires. And unraveling the wires and working through those layers and understanding that pain and revisiting those relationships, that's when I could go, you know what? I understand this now. Now I need to change it. And let's move forward.
Yeah, no, I so hear you on that. I mean, the thought actually that came to my mind was, I've always approached my life as by the principle that no one is coming to help me, right? I'm just going to be on my own. I have to do this. It's my responsibility. And I think that's probably also many of the problems I had in my own relationships over the life. It's coming from that idea that there isn't any help. It's all on me. And going back and figuring out where those thought patterns came from to then unravel them and create new thought patterns. I mean, that's really the power of coaching. And you mentioned you've been in that space now for 25 years or so. So I'm curious over that time frame, what's been your experience? How is coaching changed? How has your approach to coaching changed over those years?
Well, definitely once I started really doing the work on myself, it got better. I mean, I've been coaching teams forever, helping people hit their goals, what their personal and professional dreams were, and lining them together and making them do well in their work as well as exceed in their life. But it wasn't until I unlocked that part of me that needed to come out that I started feeling more. There was more empathy involved, not only for them but myself, right? Like unlocking that vulnerability and sharing the story, especially when you're working with teams. They see you on this level. I literally was just having this conversation yesterday with a new person who's been with the company maybe a couple of years, or excuse me, a couple of months. And I said to her, "You feel comfortable talking to me?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I said, "You don't know me yet." And she's like, "Yeah." I go, "So here's how this is going to work. You and I are going to get to know each other, because I can help you move forward once you feel comfortable sharing with me. So I'm going to share things with you." And the more I let them know, hey, I was you. This is where I started. I was in the beginning. I was learning new things. I was trying to build my business. I was trying to connect with people and learn how it all worked. I didn't just start at the top. And they forget that because they're like, hey, I want to be like you. I want to be, all the time busy. I want to be involved in all these things. That's great. You'll get there, but you have to go through the steps first. And I said, I want you to be able to communicate me and understand me, and I want to be able to understand you. So the more you feel comfortable sharing, whenever you're ready, I'm like, there's no push here. I want you to feel that you can. There's no judgment. It doesn't leave the room. This is between you and me. And she's like, okay. And she said, I said, I asked her, I said, what do you think about me? And this is really important as leaders, is you need to have your people tell you what they think and not what you want to hear or what they think you want to hear. This is really important because this is going to help you grow as a better leader. And she said, well, you're powerful. And I was like, what? I was like, you want to elaborate on that? She's like, well, you're at the top and you've done all these things. And, you have, you run all these people and you run the business and you do all the, and I said, okay, thank you. I think. But I was like, I'm not really sure where to go with that at this point. But I'm like, oh, okay, you see me in a totally different place than I am, right? I'm a person. I'm a person just like you. I get up every day, I get ready, I do the things, I have the errands, I have the bills to pay, I have the running around. Like, I am literally a person. I have the same thoughts, feelings that you do. I'm just in a different place because I know how to handle them. I know how to express them. And I said, I've been through tough times. So a little bit each time we're together, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my story. And I want you to feel free telling me a little bit about yours. When you understand people and where they've come from, that's when you truly connect, because you're connecting with their story.
I absolutely 120% agree with everything you just said. And by the way, I don't know if you ever know this, 140% of all Americans don't know how to calculate percentages. That's where that comes from. Um,
I would probably be
no,
that
that
person.
self
There's
work
this
is
great thing
so,
called a
yeah.
percentage calculator online that I've used. Like, I
Uh,
know how to do shopping ones, but that's about it.
that self work is really so important for everything in life, and to be able to truly and authentically and unapologetically be us, we have to do that self work first. I know when I was going through my coach training, one of my peer coaches, she asked me a question once that completely baffled me and really had me hamstrung for a long time because I couldn't find the answer for myself. The question is so simple, and yet it wrecked my brain for months. And the question was quite simply, Felix, where is your heart? Now,
Mm.
anatomically, I was saying it's right here, right? But on a metaphorical level, I didn't know. It was locked away for so long. And that really took me some time to figure out, like, breaking through that and finding my heart was so fundamental to everything else that came afterwards. And that is some hard work you have to go through as an individual to work on yourself first and foremost before you can help others, before you can become a good leader, right? And speaking of leadership, you mentioned you have to tell the people what you think. And I agree with that. You have to be truthful, you have to be honest, you have to be realistic, you have to be authentic in your interactions with others. Um, a few weeks ago, I published a podcast on the leadership KPIs, and I'm wondering to hear your feedback. And I don't know if you listened to the episode, but the KPIs, from my perspective, are, as a leader, they're not key performance indicators, or you can use them as such. So there's three things as a leader you have to do. You have to make sure the people under your charge know their role, they know their job, they know what they're supposed to be doing. If they don't know, how are they supposed to do what you want them to do, right? The second part of that is, are they proud of what they're doing? Because if they're not proud, it doesn't matter how much they know about what to do, the output is going to be not what you want it to be. And third, and probably most important, do your people understand that they are an integral part of your mission? Do they know their role, what they're supposed to do? Are they proud of what they're doing? And do they know that they're an integral part of your mission? And I think what you're saying about speaking truthfully and honestly and telling them what you think feeds into that. But I'm wanting to hear your perspective on that.
I would agree with all of that. We forget sometimes, especially when you have a company where you are onboarding people often, you forget where they are because you've been there, you've already passed that. So a lot of times things get forgotten in the role, even though you have a training program, even though you have, onboarding and all the things, they are in a different place. And a different place in a different time is also really important to mention. You may have started your job in 1985. That's great. It might be the same job, but it's different. So you need to be adaptable and understand that their way of thinking may be different than yours. And that's a good thing, in my opinion. As far as
Yeah.
how they're feeling and if they're in line with the mission, it's something that needs to be talked about and revisited all the time. They need to understand what that means and why you do what you do. And it needs to happen not just in an onboarding situation. Because in an onboarding situation, anybody who has interviewed people knows they're going to tell you exactly what you want to hear because they're trying to get the job. That's not when it needs to come into play. The mission needs to be lived. It needs to be a standard. It needs to be understood. And I'm not just talking about I can recite the mission verbatim. That's great. Anybody can memorize words. What does it mean to you? And how does it relate to your business and your people and your teams and your clients? That's where it becomes the heart of what you're doing. It's the heart of your people. Your people are coming in and bleeding for you every day, bleeding to build your mission. It is not their mission. They are adopting it because they believe in what you're doing, or at least they say they are.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that they are conditioned to succeed. And in order to do that, everything that you do must be around that mission, those pillars, those core values. And you need to have that conversation regularly with them because there's going to be times when they're not going to care about the mission because they got their own stuff going on, they got their personal stuff going on, they're not making their numbers, whatever. The mission goes out the window. That's exactly the time the mission needs to come back because they need to remember, why are you doing this? And one thing that I do when I work with teams that are in organizations is we take that actual mission and then I have them build their own around it. What is your mission statement for your why, for doing this job, for why you are here, for working with these clients, and how does it align with the core mission? It gives them a deeper sense of purpose because now it belongs to them.
Yeah. No, I love that. So, one thing that I was just thinking about now, and coming back to your experience of the last 25 years in this space, nowadays, with computers and social media, all this onboarding is, put into video series, and you're just sitting in front of a computer, and it really takes the human element out. 25 years ago, when we didn't have that, your onboarding was done in person by another human being who lived and breathed that same mission and was able to convey that to the people. Nowadays, yeah, you're just like you said, you get to memorize the words on the screen, and everybody thinks, oh, we're conveying the same message because it's the same content. I just don't have to pay someone to take the time out of their day to be in front of you for this time to onboard you. So I'm wondering if you found sort of that a similar experience in working with teams over these 25 years when technology really has taken such a strong foothold in our lives that we're really missing the human element in all of this.
I get that. I see the good and the bad, right? Like there's a balance between it, and I understand time and money and effort, and a video is easier. And the generations now, they live on video. So they kind of like it. Me personally, I like people. So an option would be having both. Either a video series of the things that, certain things of going through the policy. Yeah, that's boring. How can you make that more fun? I get it. There's got to be a way. Even if you know it, please tell me. But if you go through that aspect, the first question you should have with these people is, what kind of interaction would you prefer? Would you prefer a person to come in and onboard you, or would you prefer to watch a video and then have someone go back over it with you, answer the questions, and be there for you? Give them a choice. Because that way, if you've got someone who's like, I'm really not comfortable being in a room with somebody who's, on a 10 and I'm at a 2 to tell me all the things, and then I'm going to feel overwhelmed. That could be a very easy section for them to go, you know what, we're going to put you in here. Here's this video. I'm going to have you watch it. And then I'm going to come back and then we're going to have a conversation. And they might go, okay, might be a little less pressure for them. But then you've got somebody who's like me, who loves people and gets really excited. And you put me in another room with me, I'm going to be like, this is great. Because we're going to make jokes. We're going to keep it fun. We're going to move through it really fast. And I'm like, yep, I get it. Let's go. So you need to find out who your people are and then have options for them. Is there a right or wrong way? No. It's what's best for you, your company, and your people. So having options is never a bad thing.
Yeah, and I think exactly what you said is coming back to that human element, really having a profound, empathetic, and a caring environment about the people who are coming to support you in your own mission, and trying to bridge that gap. So I'm wondering, are you doing really just in person coaching, or do you utilize technology to bridge some of the divide? I mean, we all do Zoom nowadays, and it's fantastic. It brings people that otherwise would have no ability to connect together, but we're still missing some of that human element of being in person, and that energy and that vibe you get from people in the same room. So, where's your perspective on that?
I do both. I see it, I get it. There's people that I work with that are all over the world, different time zones, and being able to be on a Zoom call with those people and work them through things in a group setting or in a one-on-one setting, it works. It does work. As long as you're willing to make the connection, that you're willing to still be you, share those things. Like, don't get caught up in the fact that it's a video, it's not real, or it is real. You're building a relationship with these people. So it is possible, and it is a great way to maximize your time. I mean, I can do back-to-back coaching sessions just by being in my room, in my studio, and go, okay, let's get all this done. And I can access so many people that way. Where if I was trying to get to a person who was 10 hours away, the time travel alone is missing out on opportunities of being connected with people. But do I love an in-person session, a speaking event, a conference, a workshop? Absolutely, because I feed off an audience and I love it. I love working with all the people. I love getting to know them. There's an energy about it. It's an energy with me. It's an energy with them. Yes, I will never say no to something in person because I love it so much. But I do see the value in the online as well.
Yeah. So, question for you: do you consider yourself more of an extrovert or more of an introvert?
I actually call myself an extreme extrovert. I mean, I get so excited by people and being in the now and in the scene. And yeah, I'm definitely an extrovert. I know when to
Yeah.
control it by working with people for as long as I have, because, I can be kind of a lot sometimes. So I know when to bring it down for certain people. Because if I come out guns blazing with some introverts, they're going to be like, hello, can you stop? It also has helped me learn how to control a room, Because if you know anybody who works with a combination of people, you're going to have all the verts in the same room, and the extroverts are going to take over. You have got to have somebody in that room who can say, I love you. I appreciate your enthusiasm. You're amazing. I need to hear from these people. Somebody who can actually direct the room, because the introverts will never speak up unless you let them. If you give them the space to do so, you need to be able to give them the floor. I'm very fortunate. I've also been an esthetician for over 25 years. I can read faces. So I can tell when somebody's got something to say but isn't saying anything. And I'm like, I'm going to hold on you just 1 second. I see you. You have something to say. What is it? And I give them the floor. But that also comes from a long run of working with people, because the extroverts will take over the room. They like nothing more than to run that conversation, and they may have some great things to say, and that's wonderful. I want them to have a chance to do that and be them. But I don't want them to take away from everybody else in the room. When you have a team, your team is not just the extroverts. So remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, your team is all the people, right? Introverts and extroverts. No, I hear that. So leaning into all of this experience that you've had, anybody listening to this episode, what is one thing you think we all can do better in this world about our leadership and how we approach other people, or maybe even how we approach ourselves? What's like the one thing you want the world to do better?
Listen, and not just with your ears. We are so busy trying to get our points and our opinions across, we are not hearing the people around us. We're not seeing what they're really saying. We can't get lost in our own stuff. So if we're listening to others as well as ourselves with more than just our ears, we are going to be better people.
I hear you on that. So no, I love that. So I want to expand on that a little bit. When you say with not just our ears, my gut feeling here goes towards listening with your heart, listening with your gut, listening with your eyes. You mentioned the reading faces as well. But where are you coming from with that? What do you mean by not just listening with your ears?
You can hear anything. I can hear you talk and go, okay, yeah, and move on. But am I really listening? Is what you were saying resonating with me somewhere in my body? Is the person I see in the morning when I say hello, good morning, and they say, hello, good morning, and I say, how are you? And I'm fine. I can turn and look at them. I can look at their body language. I can look at their face. I can hear the tone of their voice because I'm attuning my ears to them. And I can go, you're not okay. What's going on? It's not just dismissing that common courtesy of hello, good morning, how are you? And somebody's just like, hey, and they move on, and you dismiss it. You're making a choice to dismiss it instead of going after them and saying, can we talk for a second? What's going on? Are you good to be here today? Or when you have someone in a coaching session, the first thing I say to all the people, if I'm in a group or one-on-one, is, how are you? How's it going? It's good. Your voice went down. Your body language is very standoffish. What's going on? We're going to start there. I feel very fortunate in my gift of being able to listen with all of my senses, because I can also pivot. I can have a whole plan and do a whole thing and be ready to go. But as soon as something changes in what that person says or does, I'm going to stop the plan and go with the person. What is going on here? What do you have to say? We need to change our topic. We need to do something different. I need to help you and understand you today. So what's going on? So listening in that heart space, showing that you actually care, is going to open up a whole world of conversation for you just by listening.
I love that. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier. It goes back to that human element of actually connecting with another human being. Now, the other thing from what you just described, that is sort of this intriguing aspect of American culture, at least, you know, uh, when I grew up in Germany, we never asked, how are you? or if we did ask, we really meant the question, how are you, right? It was very black and white. In the United States, you generally use how are you as a greeting, and you don't really care about what the other person is saying, which is why it says good, fine, whatever, right? Uh, but where does that come from? Where does the superficiality come from? Why are we saying how are you when we don't really want to know what the other person has to say?
I don't have an answer for that, but I don't like it. My opinion is if you don't care how the other person is doing, then why are you asking the question?
Right.
Because is it common courtesy if you really don't care? I don't think so. Is it a situation of you ask the question, but you're afraid of the answer? Because if the person on the other side doesn't say, I'm great, how are you? And you're like, uh-oh, they're not great. Now I have to deal with this. I don't know if I want to deal with this. I don't know if I'm equipped to deal with this. You got to be ready for the answer, no matter what it is, which takes the judgment out of it. And if you're only asking someone, how are you, as a gateway for you to talk about yourself, that is not a relationship either. I have seen this. I have been surrounded by this. And I was like, whoa. I have seen literally in my own experience of people say, hey, good morning. How are you? And they'll say, good. How are you? And then you're like, bleh. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, you can certainly open up a can of worms with that question sometimes.
So be ready for it. And there are other questions that maybe you could ask, or maybe you just say good morning, because it is okay for you not to be in the right space to have a conversation you're not prepared for. You just say good morning and you go on your way.
Yeah, no, that's so true. But that even goes back to knowing enough about yourself to know you're not in that space right now. You really don't want to deal with the other person's dealing with because you're not even sure how to deal with yourself in the moment. It goes right back to what we're starting talking about at the beginning of the conversation. So knowing all this, I'm kind of curious. Who are the people you like to work with? Somebody listening to this episode who wants to work with Claudia. Who should reach out to you?
Someone who is definitely where I was. They know something isn't right. They know that they're meant for more, but they don't know how to get there. And they don't know where to start. And they don't know what to do with all the feels, right? Like they're experiencing that they're in this place that they're kind of bored with. They're stuck. They've achieved all the goals. They've done all the things, but they're missing a piece of themselves. That's the person I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. It's kind of how I look at it, even from my own experience in my own coaching practice. In some way, the people that are where I used to be, I can help those people very well, even though I am on my own unique journey and have my own problems and experiences. But I've definitely learned some life lessons along the way that I can help other people with. Right now, one of the reasons that you and I are even having this conversation is because of the Simple Networking Toolbook that I wrote a few months ago. And yeah, you were in the book. I don't remember. You were like number 3, number 4. I don't remember where you were in that.
I believe I was number 4. Yes, the book is the coolest thing ever. So if you get this book, it's amazing. When you did the post and you were talking about this book was going out, I was like, I am so in. Like, this is a great idea.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. It's definitely been a game changer for my own networking. I mean, the people that I've met as a result so far already, it's just absolutely mind blowing, awesome. And I bought 5 books to start with, and they're all still out in the ether somewhere, and they're still circulating around things. So I normally ask questions out of the book, but you've already been asked those questions. The people just don't know it. So I have a few questions that I've been working on for the next edition that I'm going to ask you instead.
Okay, great. I like it.
So the first question is, where's your favorite thinking spot? Where do your best ideas come from?
Outside walks. When I want to walk with my dog, I make sure that I'm completely present and just being in nature and taking a walk. That's when all of these things hit me. They come up. They go, you know what? This is what you should do. This is the idea. This is the space. This is the answer to that question you've been dodging. Outside definitely does a lot for me, but that doesn't happen much in the winter.
Yeah, that's true. But connecting with nature really has a profound impact. And in our coming back to our modern world, right, where we're surrounded by concrete and steel structures and screens, that element of nature that we used to be so close with really has been taken out. And coming back with that and reconnecting with that really can have profound impact on our mental and emotional well-being. And there's research to even back that up from a scientific standpoint, which is, I look at that stuff and I'm like, duh. I mean, that should be pretty obvious.
It's always the things that are so simple that we're trying to make harder than they are, right? Well, if I have to go for a walk, then I have to be in a specific forest. I have to be in a specific town, and that's when the ideas will happen. I can be on top of this mountain, and that's when it's going to happen. Literally, I can walk down the street to the park.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, don't overcomplicate things. I agree. All right. The other question then is, what is a food that you like to eat that other people might consider odd?
I really like food. I mean, that's in the eye of the beholder, right? I like all kinds of food. I can't think of anything that would be odd at this point that I would eat. I mean, I like fruits, I like vegetables, I don't eat a lot of meat. I like a good burger. Something that would be odd. I guess I like sauerkraut. I mean, that could be something that could be different for some people. I like it on brats in the summer, on grilling. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I would necessarily consider it odd. I like I said, I'm born and raised in Germany. I am German by heritage. Sauerkraut is something that has never really interested me. So it's one of the German foods that everybody always brings about that I'm like, meh, whatever.
Yeah, no, I do like it. I mean, yeah. It would probably be better to ask me like what I don't like. I mean, it was really interesting because I had a friend that had a gift at the holidays from a client that was Turkish delight. Now, I know Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, so I was like, "It's Turkish delight." She's like, "Have you ever tried it?" I go, "No, I want to try it. Let me try it." It's disgusting. And I'm sorry for anybody who likes it, but it was the most disgusting thing. And I really wanted to like it because I love that book and I loved the movie and I know all about it. And I picked it up. I'm like, this tastes terrible. Like, this is what the kid was really risking his life for, huh? Not at all.
That's good to know. I've definitely don't have any personal experience with that myself, but I probably will steer wide clear of that. My favorite question out of the book that I know you've already answered, but I don't know the answer to your question because that book hasn't come back to me yet, is would you rather have a cat that barks or a dog that meows?
A dog that meows. I'm definitely a dog person. And my dog right now is asleep on the floor, but when she starts communicating, she's a talker. And I think meowing would be a little bit more subtle. That's my
All right,
opinion.
fair enough. No, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. Now, the other common thread throughout all these podcasts is the each guest gets to ask the next guest a question, not knowing who that person is. So I have this question for you from Kyle Loprimo, and he wants to know what breakthrough goal are you setting for yourself to complete in the next 6 months that will exponentially move you forward as a coach or person?
Anybody that knows me knows I've got a lot of irons in the fire. I have a lot of goals. But the thing that I am working on in the next 6 months, because I actually had a client give me a deadline, if you can believe this, is to start a group coaching program to get more people together. So, yes, that is something I am working on. I love a room full of people. And as I said, I can make sure everybody has a voice. So that is the plan in the next 6 months, is to get a group coaching program built.
That's fantastic. I love that. So it's your turn. You get to ask the next guest a question, not knowing who that person is or when we're going to record.
I love it. I love this question so much. And I will give you the one that I put in the book for the person who I had is, what has your life been preparing you for?
Oh, that I love that. What has your life been preparing you for? That's awesome. Now I want. Who did you give the book to, by the way?
Sajal Thacker. She's my girl. And I knew she
Oh,
would
okay.
be like
All right.
all over this. It was really hard.
Absolutely.
It's a tough decision to see who you're going to give the book to next.
For sure, no doubt. Sagel is the reason that you and I are talking. And that all came from the book. So like I said, it's been an incredible
The
experience.
book's working.
Absolutely, right? All right, Claudia, people, how can they reach out to you? How can they connect with you? Where can they find you?
Excellent questions. I love them. I am everywhere, which is wonderful. I'm under my own website, ClaudiaWyatt.com. I'm on LinkedIn under Claudia Wyatt. I'm on Instagram under The Claudia Wyatt. And I am now on Facebook. You're welcome, under The Claudia Wyatt as well. It took me a long time to get there, but there I am. So yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'll make sure all the links are in the description below for people to reach out to you, find you, connect with you, and all that jazz. Any final last words to the world from you?
Don't be afraid to be yourself. I know people tell you that all the time, just be yourself, be yourself. You need to explore who yourself is and then allow yourself to be yourself.
I love that. Well, listen, Claudia, thank you so much for this incredible conversation. I feel like we touched upon so many aspects of leadership and coaching and life and humanity and nature. It's been really wonderful. Thank you for being here. Truly appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. I have thoroughly enjoyed being here, and just being able to share the space with you was worth it enough for me. So thank you so much.
All right, I really hope you enjoyed that. The questions that I asked towards the end are from my new book, The S.I.M.P.L.E Networking Tool. It's a great book that redefines how we network. It's all about who someone is and not what they are. So if you want to get your own book, it's available on Amazon. If you want to learn more, there's videos about it here on YouTube. So you can check out this amazing new social science experiment. I'm so excited for it. If you do get a book and you do start your own, please let me know how it goes and what your experience is like. I'm working on the second edition and I want to make it the best one yet. So be sure to tag me, let me know how it goes. Thanks for watching.